As a long-time Ace Attorney fan, I gotta say this compilation getting localized finally after a grueling 6 years is one of the best things that happened this year. It is one of the handful of titles that I absolutely needed to pre-order this year, and not only did it meet my expectation, it knocked them out of the park. For my full thoughts on the story of this game, you can watch my spoilers discussion video here, where I recap each of the two games episode one by one and go through some of my favourite moments from each of the cases, and ultimately giving my thoughts on the story. For this video, I've carefully crafted a video review to not give away as many spoilers as possible, as well as covering many of the topics I omitted in the other video. As someone who has played every single localized Ace Attorney game, I gotta say the Great Ace Attorney just feels so refreshing, and a big part of the wonder and excitement is contributed by the setting itself. You play as Ryunosuke Naruhodo, the ancestor of the Ace Attorney himself, Phoenix Wright. The games are set in the late 19th century during the Meiji era of Japan and the Victorian era of Great Britain. And the games are quite grounded to reality, with many things lining up with the factual historical events. The attention to detail in the game setting is on full display. Stuff like how the people act, the infrastructure, the laws enacted during an era, the way people are dressed, the scenarios you find, etc. You're bound to learn something from that period from playing the two games. Another reason why this setting is so great is because of how it sets itself apart from the main series. Because of the fact that this game takes place in the past, the technology for solving crimes is just not there. Forensic science is still in its infancy, so the nifty DNA testings, fingerprint testing that we are all used to in the previous games in the series are just not around. As such, the crimes committed in these games are quite different, and the way to catch criminals are also very different. And the thought of this being a historical setting is also a love letter to the Sherlock Holmes novels, with many references to the source material. It's also through this contrivance of a fictional character that we get most of the steampunk elements introduced. This really is one of the finest settings in video games. Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, the characters in these games are just so well written. Unlike the later games in the main series, there's no baggage of old characters, there's no need to tie up their loose ends or whatsoever. You just get to enjoy a totally new cast of interesting characters from the time period. And the characterization is just absolutely on point. Out of all the major characters, there's honestly no weak characters to speak of. Many of them have great developments and arcs, and by the end they've all gone through so much growth. My favourite character by far is Herlock Sholmes, for very obvious reasons. I have to praise the localization team. They really did a superb job here translating the game, giving many of the characters a unique voice through different dialects, as well as vocabulary that really fits the period that it is depicting. A word of warning though, even though it's technically two games in this compilation, the games are very much connected and you should treat it as one large story altogether. As such, it can feel a little bit slow since game 1 feels like it's building up towards game 2. But like I mentioned before, I feel it's very well deserved since many of the well-earned character arcs are built all the way from game 1, case 1, all the way to the finale. For the gameplay of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, it's almost exactly the same as the games in the main series. For the uninitiated, the Great Ace Attorney plays like a point-and-click visual novel game where there are two distinct segments. Firstly, the investigation segments, where you basically collect information and evidence. The other segment being the courtroom trial sections, where you question witnesses and ultimately solve the crime with all the information and evidence you get in court, and ultimately try to get a not guilty verdict. The Great Ace Attorney does introduce some new gameplay mechanics to the standard formula. In the investigation segments, the big new mechanic is the dance of deduction. In this new segment, you help assist the Great Detective in his great deduction, pointing out important clues in the surroundings. The gameplay itself is nothing to write home about. It is standard point and click, but the reason why the dance of deduction segment is so good is because it usually contains many humorous moments with Sholmes. The banters in the scenes are just so damn good, and it's overall bolstered by the presentation, with Ryunosuke and Sholmes just moving around the scene stylishly. All of this usually leads to a major plot point getting revealed. The other big gameplay mechanic introduced is the jury system in the courtroom sequences. When all 6 jurors have reached a consensus and casted guilty verdict in the scales, there will be a new segment dubbed the Summation Examination. It is through this new segment that we get to question the jurors directly on why they think the defendant is guilty. The objective here is to get 4 jurors to lean back towards a not guilty verdict, letting the trial continue. The main difference between this segment from the ordinary cross-examination is that instead of presenting evidence to prove contradictions, you're instead pitting the jurors against one another by stating the contradictions between them. I absolutely love this new addition. It helps give a voice to the inhabitants of the world, adding an element of world building to the games, with different jurors literally from different walks of life and experience. It really makes for a ton of memorable moments and plot points, and due to the segment being quite limited, it never really overstayed its welcome. I think it's far superior than the other gameplay mechanics introduced past the original trilogy in the main series. Another noteworthy mechanic to talk about is the multi-witness testimony system lifted from the Professor Layton Ace Attorney crossover, where you can hear the recounts of the testimony from multiple points of view and also pursue someone else's thoughts as they are giving the testimony. This system is far more explored in these two games here, with multiple witnesses interacting with each other on a witness stand, and the revelations and plot points uncovered on the witness stand is so good. Another great gameplay addition is the quality of life option known as story mode. This is a feature you can toggle at any time. When turned on, the game will automatically advance the story for you, including the puzzles and gameplay portions. This is such a useful feature whenever you are stuck. This feature needs to become a mainstay in all the games from now on. Being one of the first fully 3D games in the franchise that are upscaled to HD, I'm generally quite impressed by how the game looks. The highlights are definitely the animations, especially during the dance or deduction segments, as I mentioned earlier. And just seeing more motion and camera cuts during the trial sections just really shows the evolution of the Ace Attorney games all the way from the Game Boy Advance days. Ultimately, because of the nature that these were originally 3DS games, some of the textures are quite bad when blown up to HD. One of the more bigger distractions are the courtroom fire. They're just not very well upscaled. It looks a little jittery and pixelated, as well as some of the evidence you will need to examine up close. The music on the other hand is just what you expect from the franchise. It's absolutely splendid. And after thinking and debating with myself for a while, I gotta say this might be my favourite soundtrack out of all the games in the series. The characters' themes are just so damn good. The trial music is also absolutely on point, with multiple themes amping up the tension in the trials, such as having two suspense theme, a complication in the proceedings theme, the foreboding theme, the truth theme. The examination themes are also simply great as well, with the summation examination being one of my favourite soundtracks from the games. All of these crescendoing into the objection and pursuit themes, which are always great. But you know what? In these games, they even included prelude versions of these themes, acting as a sort of bridge, teasing you with the idea that it's coming. Enough said, this game soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Anyways, I played the Switch version of these two games and can report that there's no big drawback when it comes down to the handheld mode. In fact, I actually prefer playing in portable mode more times than not, especially since the game can be played entirely using touch input. Playing it like a tablet without the Joy-Cons attached is actually pretty fun. Aside from just having the two games included in this Chronicles package, you also get a ton of extras that goes along with it. Stuff like concept art, a music section which features not only the soundtrack, but also unused soundtrack with commentary from the composers themselves, promotional videos with localized translation, as well as many other goodies. The only one clear omission is the DLC mini cases from DGS 2 that were not included in this package. That aside, two full games with a ton of extras and it only retails at $40 USD, it is such a good value for money. To summarize, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles features an outstanding overarching plot over the two games, with one of the best characterization in the entire franchise, as well as a unique setting that really sets it apart from the rest of the series. The new gameplay additions are splendid, helping break out the series' conventional formula while also fitting in nicely, never overstaying their welcome. The story mode feature also deserves mentioning, helping ease the quality of life aspect of the game. The presentation is just what I expect from an Ace Attorney game, with a captivating soundtrack, excellent animations all around, accentuating each of the colourful characters you find in this world. This package is just filled to the brim with value, containing many extras and behind the scenes commentary. My only complaint is that the first game starts out rather slow. You really have to complete the duology to get the most out of this Chronicles package. As such, if I were to give a score to the games, I would probably give Adventures a 7.1 and Resolve a 9.2. However, collectively, I'm giving the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles a 10 out of 10. It was absolutely worth the wait. If you are an Ace Attorney fan, just go pick this game up. If you are new to the Ace Attorney series, you don't have to worry. Due to this game being a sub-series, you can absolutely start with this duology with zero context in mind. And after you pick this game up and complete it, do watch my spoilers review here. So long guys, so long.